We all want to achieve the best out of our personal and professional life, but then often we are told that the ultimate price we need to pay in order to achieve that is to make dramatic change, shake off a lot of things in our lives, or even relocate to a new environment. But what if we can achieve major transformations by tweaking the little things we do in our daily life that might not seem like a big deal to us? We all tend to focus on these single major changes that we make in our lives, but completely disregard the marginal gains we make towards the realizations of our goals. Real change comes from the idea that if you break down everything you do and improve them by a small margin over a longer period of time, you will achieve significant improvement because those tiny gains we do every day are put together through the power of compound effect. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Jeyzan, and in today's video I'll be introducing a new series of episodes called BookShelf, where I'll be sharing summaries, key insights and takeaways from some of my favorite books. And to start us off on this is Atomic Habits by James Clear, who presents in this book a very compelling arguments and examples from his in-depth research of spanning multiple areas like sports, arts, neuroscience, business, history, and as well we'll talk about his frameworks that are very practical with a good mix of examples and some thought-provoking life philosophies that explains why the little things we do every day matters and count for a lot in the long run. So basically, let's categorize the takeaway from this book into 4 sections and address them one by one. Firstly, we'll talk about the power of getting 1% better every day. And secondly, why we do not rise to the level of our goals, but we fall to the level of our system. A little bit mind-boggling, but later we'll discuss in detail. And thirdly, we'll talk about 3 layers of changing habit, why it's about our identity rather than the final product. And finally, we look at how we even form the habits from the first place. So firstly, why does getting the 1% better every day matters? Well, it boils down to the power of compounding effect. So the little things we do every day that might not seem like a big deal becomes a big deal in the long run. Imagine if you improved your habits by 1% every day, you will be dramatically a different person in a year's time. Similarly, if you decline in your habits by 1% every day, that will put you in a much worse spot in a year from now. So here's how that must work. If you can get 1% better each day for 1 year, you will end up 37 times better than the time you are done. Conversely, if you get 1% worse each day for 1 year, you will decline nearly down to 0. So firstly, why does getting 1% better every day matters? Well, it boils down to the power of compounding effect. So the little things we do every day that might not seem like a big deal becomes a big deal in the long run. Imagine if you improved your habits by only 1% every day, you would be dramatically a different person in a year's time. Similarly, if you decline in your habits by 1% every day, that will put you in a much worse spot in life a year from now. So here's how that must work. If you can get 1% better each day for 1 year, you will end up 37 times better by the time you're done. Conversely, if you get 1% worse each day for 1 year, you will decline nearly down to 0. What starts as a small win or a minor setback accumulates into something much more than you anticipate. As James put it, habit is actually a compound interest of self-improvement. Interestingly, where we lost it is that this 1% better or 1% worse isn't even noticeable at the time we are doing this task. So we never even pay attention to it. But it can be far more meaningful, especially in the long run, years time, 5 years time, 10 years time. To sum this idea up, James makes a comparison of how progress works in reality vis-a-vis how we expect it to be, and he calls that the plateau of latent potential, which sounds a lot more fancier, but literally what that means is we expect progress to be linear, but in reality the outcome of marginal gains are often delayed. So this leads us to what he calls valley of disappointment, where we don't feel that we are making any progress, and so we decide to give up because the result we're expecting is not coming forth. One of the examples he gave about this is a case of placing an ice cube on a table at a room temperature of 25 degrees and raising gradually the room temperature by 1 degree. So it means like 26, 27, 30, 31. So it isn't that the 1 degree change between the 31 and 32 degrees that actually melt the ice, but rather the collective 1 degree gain all the way from 25 up until 32. Hopefully the message is home as to why 1% better or 1% worse is important in our daily life. Takeaway number 2 is why we do not rise to the level of our goals, but we fall to the level of our system. So James addresses why we should forget about the goals and focus on the system instead. And he talks about 4 problems of setting a goal. First, he says that winners and losers have same goal. So every Olympian wants to win a gold medal, every candidate wants a job, and if successful or even not successful, both of these people, share the same goal. Then in this case, goal cannot be what differentiates the winners from the losers. Problem number 2 of goal setting, he says, is achieving a goal is only a momentary change. You see, if I have a messy room and you set a goal to clean it and eventually convince yourself and clean it, then you have a cleaner room as of that time. But if you maintain the same sloppy habits of throwing things around anyhow and all that, you will soon have untidy room again. You are left chasing same outcome because you never change the system behind it. It's like you treat the symptoms without actually addressing the cause. Problem number 3 of goal setting, he says that goal restrict happiness. The assumptions behind any goal is once I reach my goal, I'll be happy. See, the problem with goals first mentality is that you are continually putting happiness off until once you achieve that goal, and then you set another goal, and this vicious cycle continues. Ultimately, when you fall in love with the process rather than the outcomes, you don't have to wait to give yourself permission to be happy again. You can be happy anytime as long as your system is running and functioning. Problem number 4 of goal setting, he says that goals are at odds with long-term progress. As soon as you achieve the goals you are pursuing, everything stops there and you no longer bother to do them because motivation is not there anymore. For example, many athletes work so hard for months and years, and as soon as they cross the finish line, they stop the training. The race is no longer there to motivate them to actually take action. This is why many people find themselves reverting to our old habits, and you end up from a champion to kind of an out of shape person, which is really weird within some few months because of your bad habits. And the takeaway number 3 is actually 3 layers of changing habits. And these layers are outcomes, process, and identity. Our boy James makes a convincing argument that people generally start with the goal of changing outcome, which is why they can't even sustain the habits. The idea is to start with the changing identity first. It's not about what people want to achieve, but more about what they want to become. For example, if I want to run a marathon, I should focus on being a runner rather than running the marathon. That's my identity. The goal is not actually to read a book, but the goal is to become a reader. Which is why now I'll be doing book reviews for you guys, because the shift in my identity is I'm from reading a book to a reader. Similarly, the goal is not to actually learn an instrument, but to become a musician. When people focus on identity, they will use behaviors that are likely to act in accordance with that identity. The goal, therefore, is not to be running marathon, but to become a runner. Once the focus is on changing the identity, the changes in process will fall in place, leading to change in outcomes anyway. And to wrap it up with a quote from the book that says, the ultimate form of intrinsic motivation is when habits become your identity. Finally, how do we even form these habits? This is a takeaway number 4. This can be put in 4 frameworks, and James says there are cues, which are their triggers and signs in the environment, the cravings, which are motivation to pursue the action, the response is actually the actions and habits that we pick, and the rewards is the products or the results of our actions. And this is what our boy James calls 4 laws of changing behavior. Number 1 is you need to make the change obvious. I applied this in my life. I'm a big night owl and I wanted to change this, but quite struggle with carrying my phone to bed, which keeps me up for long. So what I did is, just before I go to bed, I keep my phone in the other room. So I find a little bit lazy to go and pick it up, and so main idea is that you put few steps between you and your good behaviors and more steps between you and bad behaviors. Law number 2 is you need to make habits attractive. Attach the goals to something you like doing. For example, if you like listening to podcasts, then you say to yourself, I'm going to actually listen to my favorite podcast and work out at the same time. Law number 3 is habits need to be made a little easy. Making it easy does not mean that you're doing easy things, but to remove as much friction as possible that stands in the way of doing things you want to do. For example, I like keeping my camera, my tripod, and the lighting system on the table next to my bed. And weirdly, if I want to record a 1-minute video in the middle of the night for TikTok and Instagram, I just pick them and start rolling the camera and recording it, rather than moving across the room and picking it, which makes a lot of friction. And law number 4 is habits need to be made satisfying. See, you need to attach these habits with some immediate satisfaction, like after workout, you get some massage, which eventually attaches the act of going to the gym with having a massage. So you would want to do that always, and over time that habits become part of your life. Before you want to go to gym, you have this mentality that, after I do my workout, I'll get some massage, which makes some instant gratification, immediate satisfaction that as human beings we always desire to have. And the parting shot from this book is a quote that goes like, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. No single instant will transform your beliefs, but as the votes build up, so does the identity or the evidence of your new identity. I love this quote from the book because put it like democracy of your habits. Every action, every habit, it's like you're casting a vote for the type of person you want to become. It's practicing democracy with your habits. More organized person or a person who shows up late to the meeting. So the more votes you cast for these two identities is going to represent you in the long run. Because in democracy, majority wins. Either, hey, I'm an organized person, or well, I'm just a person that is always late. Hope you cast, more votes for a good habit this year. And so if you made it to this point, please subscribe to the channel, like, comment, and share, because it will help the channel grow. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.